Deep Dive Film School makes no claim of ownership of the film footage used in this episode. The film footage is owned entirely by the copyright holders. Also, we're going to spoil the hell out of this movie, so this is your warning. Welcome to Deep Dive Film School.
Oh, this week we're going to get into that one scene from Pee-wee's Big Adventure from 1985, Mr. Tim Burton. Let's get into it. Ha! Ha!
All right, everybody, I'm Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Pulcher.
If you like what you see /here, please like and subscribe. You can find us in all the spaces and places that people find good media.
That's what I heard.
We do these festivals. We do one-on-ones, not one-on-ones. That's a different thing. But
we could do that.
Yeah, we could if we wanted to. And every other week we do these scene analyses. And it's really an opportunity to deep dive into one particular moment of a film and talk about what makes that moment brilliant.
So what made you choose this scene?
I think
because this is a movie that has a bajillion scenes you could have chosen.
It does, and I think there is something.
Do you want to say what scene it is?
So this is the bike chase scene. It really is
through the Hollywood lot at the end of the movie.
It's towards the end of the movie. It's almost the very end of the movie when Pee-wee finally gets his bike back and he is getting away from the security guards at Warner Brothers studio. And I think the reason why I wanted...
Warner Brothers is part of this? I had no idea.
I know, right?
Go ahead.
And I think the reason why I like this scene in particular is it's a really good example of all the things that made this movie magical in terms of its tone and its style. And also, weirdly, it was a showcase of the kind of things that Tim Burton loved sort of before he lost his way, I would say. It made me, as I was taking notes, I was like, oh yeah, this is so unique. And if you think about when this movie came out and the kind of movies that were being made at the time, there is this lost innocence of silliness in this movie that makes it so special.
Well, and it being his first movie too.
Completely. And just being this weird thing that him and Paul Rubens wanted to make together. Yeah. Like it really does have this like childlike whimsy and wonder to it, and all of it's on showcase
for
in this chase scene.
It's an opportunity for Tim Burton to kind of play. You get to see his imagination a little bit, like his wild imagination. He's really good at showing you the unexpected. I think when Pee-wee sits down for breakfast, he doesn't expect this whole contraption to like make his breakfast and all, like that's the kind of imagination. Yes. Obviously some of that is Paul Rubens as well. But I do think it is, we have, I think one of the first things Pee-wee sees when he escapes the studio after they say, "Stop that nun." Yeah. It's like purple and blue elephants, like such a wild atmosphere of things that you would only hope the back lot of a movie set looked like. Completely. Right? Well, you get to play not only you get to play with not only just the genre tropes of everything, right? You also get to play with the pop culture and all of that stuff as well. Now, I have a big qualm with the pop culture in a moment, but anyways.
I was just gonna say, like, you're absolutely right. And again, to my point of it being a showcase for the things that Tim Burton loved, and then later the way he lost his way is you're like, oh, a pink and blue elephant, like, of course that's like a Dumbo reference. And then 40 years later, he remakes, he does a horrible remake of Dumbo, right? And so you're like, you don't have to be so on the nose. Like, it could be this kind of a thing. Now, before we get deep into the chase, this is one of my favorite parts of the movie is when the chase starts, which is the nun scene.
So good.
And who is this actor? Is that the kid from Wonder Years?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it is.
Very much. Also,
Rusty, yeah.
Yes, he's also in Monster Squad. He's the one who makes the kid eat the candy bar. That's great.
Okay, thank you.
So
now, that whole sequence
that's all. Wonder Years is what I remember.
Yes,
him from.
and he's the older brother, the precocious child actor.
Oh, so good.
Like, even a child can be courteous.
Been ready since
that whole thing. Yeah, the best part,
obnoxious child actor,
when he does his. You're an inspiration to us all, Rusty. He says, I'm going to start a paper out right now. And what's the best part about that scene that I did not notice until I watched it this time
is
when he takes the bike and leaves the fucking director
Looks at the script.
looks at the script like that might be in the
That's
script.
not a line.
I did never caught that before, and that made me laugh so hard. Where I was like, "Oh God, of course." He looks at the script like, "Well, stop that, none."
Well, the only reason that he's in Hollywood is because he woke up from in the hospital and saw it on TV.
Yep, exactly. And he's like, "That's it. I gotta go." Yeah, because he was trying to find the basement of the Alamo.
That's right.
So yeah, after the Dumbo reference, you really can see Burton's love for old Hollywood, though.
Sure.
In this, and of course, we have this amazing score happening from first time
Danny Elfman.
or orchestral from Danny Elfman, like obviously amazing and Oingo Boingo, but like this is his first time doing this, and the music is just like churning along and is so funny and bombastic and over the top. We have all of these special secret weapons inside the bike.
Sure.
The first one that we get is the pull away handlebar, because the guy that's chasing him grabs a hold of the handlebar and it goes and pops off, and then the new one comes out, and like that's amazing. There's more here with an oil slick, a smoke screen.
Yeah.
It is the bike that just
on giving.
yeah, it's
it flies at the end, basically.
some top secret stuff, some James Bond stuff.
That's
yeah,
right.
exactly.
So I'm gonna pour a little water on your fire here a little bit, and it was so funny, and I never realized any of this before about this scene, but in the style of Mac and Me and Space Jam, this is a scene that is a Warner Brothers commercial. If you have not noticed, and I did not put this together until I truly paid attention to everything that he goes through in this wild chase, and it kind of blew me away. So I have to bring it
Do
up.
it.
Okay, so Mac and Me was McDonald's, right?
Totally McDonald's advertisement.
I think this probably falls more into the Ready Player One side of things.
Okay.
Where everything in that movie is Warner Brothers based. Back to the Future, The Shining, all of this stuff is Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go through the list of shit that happens in this chase scene.
Okay.
That is all owned by Warner Brothers.
Okay, do it.
Okay. So the theme that your Danny Elfman is so poignantly playing is the theme from Wizard of Oz, owned by Warner Brothers. Dun, 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 dun. That's the theme that he's playing. We also have the classic Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner throwback to the fake background.
Yes,
all of that stuff. Warner Brothers.
Yes.
Twisted Sister, produced on Warner Brothers, of course. Godzilla, part of the MonsterVerse that Warner Brothers used. Tarzan, when he flies across with his bike.
Another Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers thing. You see where I'm going with this? So
all the IPs.
Exactly. I had no idea because as a child, I watched this scene. And I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Go, Pee Wee.
I mean, I did that earlier today when I watched it for
exactly.
this
Me too. I did the same thing, and as a kid that was born in 1979, and I was 6-7 years old when this came out. This was perfect for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what a Hollywood movie backlot was or IP. So, stripping all of that away, but realizing in my older age watching this back, like, oh shit, this is just a commercial for Warner Brothers and all of their like popular IP. So it really kind of blew me away, but
that's amazing.
It doesn't take away from what a blast of a scene this movie
No,
is.
well, and let's talk about the Wile E. Coyote thing, because again, to talk about Tim Burton and what he would go on to do in sort of the early parts of his career, where whether you're talking about Beetlejuice all the way up to something like Ed Wood, is like tonally to have a character pull the Wile E. Coyote fake. You can keep driving straight because
this street goes through.
This forest perspective thing. Like to see a flesh and blood human being pull a real actual tapestry that's painted that way in the way to trick somebody still is magical. It's still magical in this way where you're like, wait, what's happening? Like, and I think that's the early work that Burton was doing that was so incredible before he kind of like fell into this whole remake world and really leaning so much into bad CGI and just all of that. But to go back to this era of that, just like the Breakfast Machine that you referenced a minute ago, like to see a real Rube Goldberg style machine in a movie was just the childlike enjoyment of seeing that is so incredible and powerful.
So I'm gonna go ahead and guess. This is just purely conspiracy coming out right now, but I'm
Okay.
gonna go ahead and guess the reason that Tim Burton took such a hard fall is because it was people like Warner Brothers coaching him from his first movie, like plaster your shit everywhere, put it all over the place. This is his influence throughout. And so
Interesting.
after a
Okay.
while, that becomes a reality.
That's
And
very
I'm sure Warner
interesting.
Brothers has bought him many a mansion and he's living a great life. And he is an artistic, amazing director. You can't put that past him. He
No.
has a vision. He knows what he's doing. He obviously is one of the greatest of our generation with the stuff that he's made over time. Definitely fallen off a huge cliff, I
Yeah.
think personally.
Same here.
But it's kind of interesting to think about. Hey, look at your influences
That's
as you're growing up
really fun.
in a very time where you just want to break in, right?
Well,
That's the hardest part.
And I also wonder if it's like you get to be a weirdo when no one else is being a
Mhm.
weirdo, but
Yeah.
as culture moves and leans further into being weird, right? Where you even have somebody like Spielberg directing Ready Player One, to your point, and
Mhm.
it's like, oh, everybody's a huge nerd now. Everybody's a goth.
Sure, sure.
Everybody's like weird and edgy. Then if you're the guy who's in his 50s and you're like, but I still want to be a weirdo, like it might
I
that
still
might
like
be
The
one of the
Cure.
yeah, that might be one of the things that means that you lose your way, because I think that again, something like this weird beach party bingo movie
Yeah.
that they go through the middle of, and you're like, why would this be being filmed? This 1950s style beach party movie be being filmed in like the late 80s? That
They-
doesn't make any
They
sense,
needed a
right?
boat.
But that's just it. You
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
it makes sense within this weird world,
Exactly.
right?
But this is way pre-internet, 20 years before the internet, so
Yeah.
no one could go and look it up what they were doing, like what movie could they possibly be making.
Yeah.
This is playing off the nostalgia and influences of the people watching,
Right.
right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Frankie Valley isn't out here anymore.
Yeah, it's not going to be that kind of. It's not a Gidget movie, right?
1985.
Yeah, but I think that all of that. Same with the Tarzan. Nobody was making a Tarzan movie then, but to have a big hunky Tarzan sitting in his chair with the guy who's playing the gorilla who has his head off and so his eyes are just blacked out and he's still eating a banana and they're taking a break. You're like, it's brilliant, right?
So
It's
good.
like
Yeah.
it's what an idiot would assume the backlot looks like
Exactly.
in a movie in a movie
Let's
studio.
plaster it. Yeah.
The same thing with it's the middle of summer and they're filming a Santa movie, right? Like,
Exactly.
all of these
which you
elements.
probably realistically have to do. Like
Right.
there's all colors of the rainbow here. The guy who takes off the kind of stormtrooper looking guy who takes off his helmet has a really high voice.
Let's see.
Which building this guy's working at? So it's just like you got to play with those genre tropes, and it's really fun.
Well, and one of the best ones in playing with the unrealistic aspect is that they would go through a Godzilla movie and that it would be an all Japanese crew working on it, even though you're in the Warner Brothers lot. That you would still
in
have
America.
you're in Hollywood on the Warner Brothers studio, all Japanese, all being spoken in Japanese. Like I was like, that's brilliant. Like it's very, very funny.
I will say, great Twisted Sister song that they use.
It's one
one
of
of my favorites.
It's one of the best Twisted Sisters.
Yeah,
songs.
so I'm glad they used that one. And this is kind of a golden rule of Hollywood. Anytime you can get Dee Snider into the movie, you get him.
Got to do it. Yeah, no,
It's like Don Cheadle.
Yeah, is he available? He is.
Yeah.
Get him in here.
I want a meeting.
And finally, this last moment of we've reached the end of the lot. What
Oh,
do we
man.
do? And he hits the jetpacks,
Of course.
and he flies over. And I will say, I've said it in filmmaking classes that I've taught that Pee-wee's Big Adventure is one of the perfect hero cycle movies, right? To me, it's as perfect of a hero cycle movie as Star Wars
He's
is.
just a weirdo.
Well, and he's and
Your
he has,
hero's a weirdo.
and he has to leave the comfort of the regular world to go on this adventure, right? And
Yeah.
he has to seek to find his
Purpose.
which in this case is his bike. And in that vein, when he shoots over the house on with his rocket and he lands and then he skids out, it's in front of the same group of kids that he wrecks his bike on earlier in the movie, right? Where
Very
he,
funny wreck.
yeah, and he says, "I meant to do that." Like he wrecks again, or he skids out in front of him, and this time they go radical,
Radical.
right?
And then you get the tooth of
and then he's off. But you're like, that's the end. That really is the end of his journey. Like that's the end. Everything that happens after
Those are
that,
the bookends we need.
the saving all the pets, including the snakes,
Yeah.
and then the aftermath of him going to see was it um James Brolin, isn't it that who plays him in the movie version?
It is.
All those are just bookends. That's just
Extra
popcorn,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the real hero's journey ends
Good
with
point.
him
Well,
showing
he got
up
his bike back.
the
That's why.
BMX kids.
This is the thing he's been chasing the whole movie.
And now he's got it.
You know, he's
yeah,
got his
yeah.
bike. Good job, Pee-wee.
It's an incredibly funny sequence, and it's done so perfectly in those moments.
I agree. It's a great sequence. It's one I absolutely remember from my childhood. And this movie, front to end, you can turn it on anytime. It's pure entertainment. I love it.
It's pretty much. I mean, to me, it's a pretty perfect film.
I wonder how someone like Pee-wee ages with like millennials and stuff like that, because we grew up watching Pee-wee as a TV show. And then he started coming out with this. And honestly, they did come out with a new Pee-wee a couple years ago. And it was really good.
It was really good.
Really funny.
Well, and it did
I was really
well.
blown away how funny it was.
It did really well. Like, I mean, I think that, Big Top Pee-wee was a downer. Like, it's not very good. But the newer one that they rebooted, like,
awesome.
It's great. And Paul Rubin still looked exactly the same. And maybe it's because he's been wearing pancake makeup since he was in his 20s. So, but I think that it probably still plays with kids nowadays. Like,
yeah,
it had the right snarky weirdness and super surreal moments. And I
just wasn't sure.
Well, I mean, to me, I'm like, you could probably, if there's Gen Z kids who've never seen this, cut up one 30-second clip and upload it to TikTok, and it would probably blow up. Because it's the same thing where it's these silos of weird ideas that somehow fit. Like the other scene I thought about doing instead of this one was the Satan's Helpers scene in the bar, right? And like, I'm trying to use the phone, and you're like, that's its own little silo.
Oh yeah.
That's also magical and insane.
Well, that's the magic of the road trip movie, right? Yeah. These silos that you can find. These little, exactly. These little pieces of the world that you never knew existed or never thought you'd get along with or whatever.
And if you're following somebody as weird as Pee-wee Herman, then it's like, it doesn't matter what you throw at him, it'll work.
100%.
Yeah. What's prison like? Long showers. You're like, what the fuck? This is a kid's movie. Anyway.
Great kids movie.
Amazing movie.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next thing. Next week, we are going to continue our Wonka Wai Festival with Chungking Express. And then we are going to do, I believe, that one scene from The Witch. Yeah. So be ready for that.
Whiplash, you guys.
Please like and subscribe. Yeah, we're all over the place. We like to hit all the genres, all the things, all the good stuff anyway.
All the good stuff.
But please like and subscribe. We follow along. We got tons of playlists on YouTube and on Instagram. We're also on TikTok on a regular basis now. So please follow us there. And we will see you soon.
Bye, you guys.